Hello, hello, my friends. It is Hondo, and welcome back to the Knights of the Nerd Republic. You know what to do, and stay profitable.
The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Hello there, and welcome back to Knights of the Nerd Republic, the show where your favorite nerds talk all things about the galaxy far, far away. I am your host, Jarod the Dark Jedi Bachman Stubbs, and we are here to talk about Season 3 of The Mandalorian in full, a full season discussion, which I'm very excited for. As a bit of a programming note, it is Star Wars week, so not 100% sure how much Star Wars stuff you're going to be getting this week, but you're definitely getting at least 2 episodes of Knights of the Nerd Republic. The plan is to hopefully by the end of the week record a fun companion to this episode with Jerry the Cannon Junkie from Bombadcast and Alden Diaz of Octo Radio about the Children of the Watch and kind of unpacking our thoughts on that institution. But the other episode you will definitely be getting this week is going to be a fun little discussion about Return of the Jedi. Obviously, its 40th anniversary is here. Movie's back in theaters. And most of our Star Wars friends and Star Wars fans the world over are seeing that legendary movie in theaters. And I'm very excited to talk about the theater experience and a little Return of the Jedi retrospective here on Knights of the Nerd Republic as well. So look forward to all of that. But I am not alone. I am joined by in Tony's New Year, Kason Brian.
Hey, what's up? I'm new here.
You know, it's been like about a month, almost a month and a half. Richard just slapped his toy under the door. Oh, can you get it? Can you get it? Can you get it? Richard, you got this, buddy. You got it. He got the toy. Okay.
Yes.
And then he kicked it right back under the fucking door.
Son of a bitch.
He got it though. But yes, I don't know how much longer we can keep saying you're new here. But we are not alone. We are joined by a friend of the show and host of Triad of the Force. We have Goose.
What is up, my dudes? What is up? So happy to be here finally.
I'm excited to have you on. I got to be on Triad to talk about the Mines of Mandalore.
Yes.
Now it all comes full circle. You know, I love to do that. Yeah. I love to do the feature for a feature.
Yeah, long have I waited. Yeah.
But yes, we're very excited to talk about Mando Season 3.
Yes.
I love this season. It was controversial for some reason that I don't fully understand. But we're going to talk about all that. We're going to get into the weeds. We're going to talk about all of it. Before we jump into all that, we do have a word from our lovely sponsors at Sunday's Bloody Mary. You guys know the drill. Sunday's Bloody Mary has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the galaxy with their 3-time award-winning Spicy Caesar mix, their traditional mix, and their mild mix as well if the spice isn't for you. They also have award-winning dilly bean, okra, and asparagus pickled all, of course, and some rim salt if you're trying to garnish like a freak. Or let me rephrase that, to get your freak on and garnish it. Because if you're drinking a Bloody Mary with no garnishes, you need psychiatric help. They also have their line of very cute tomato-themed merch. So get on over to sundaysbloodymary.com/shop. Use code TNAP, TNAP, at checkout and get 10% off your order and help out your favorite nerds while you do it. Goose.
What's up? What is up?
How are you feeling about Season 3 of The Mandalorian?
Look, I have a I have mixed feelings. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Anyone who has listened to like our podcast will know, especially like our episode, that we were very effusive and very optimistic and very happy with the direction that the season was going. I was very, I mean, full disclosure, I was very lucky to attend the Mandalorian premiere, and we were able to see the first 2 episodes there before anybody. So I was on board. Like those first 2 episodes really rocked my world, and just with those two, like I really felt that a lot of the things that didn't jive with me with season 2 were being corrected, and that kind of was solidified as the season went ahead, because I felt season 3 was a lot more cohesive and had more of a narrative through line that season 2, at least to me, lacked. So I was really enjoying season 3. I think it was extremely good. It's extremely fun. The problem that I had ultimately was like the resolution with the final episode. Not to say that it was a bad episode. I think it was a very fun and enjoyable episode, but I feel like it didn't do the best at tying up all the loose ends. And I don't know if it's Mando thing, a Favreau thing, a Lucasfilm thing, or we're gonna retrofit Mandalorian now to actually be to absorb Rangers of the New Republic, and that's why maybe things were a little rushed. But yeah, I felt like it was a very strong season with a weak finale. But you know, still overall, I still enjoyed it. I still liked it. I think it had extremely high moments. The episode before last was incredible, and having those Praetorian guards kick some ass and have our boy Visla go in a flame of glory was one of the most epic things in all of Star Wars. So I can't say it's a bad season when we got one of the most incredible moments in all of Star Wars. So those are my initial 2 cents.
All right, all right. Kason, your thoughts. Not having had a week to simmer, a week or two to simmer on this season as a whole. How are you feeling going into this conversation?
I don't understand the hate, to be honest with you. I feel like a lot of people didn't like this season, and like it, like Goose said, like it tells like an actual story the whole way through, and like obviously like, you have like what was the celebrity guest episode? What was the title? I forget.
The Lizzo and Jack.
Guns for Hire.
Yeah, Guns for Hire. Yeah, like that episode, like a lot of people were like, "Oh, it took me out of the story immediately," and I was like, "Okay, it took me out of the story for a split second, but like then it goes right back in. Like it's not like they were like, "Hey, this is Lizzo and that's Jack Black and that's Christopher Lloyd." It's like, "Hey, that guy's here," and that's it. Like they're playing a character.
I do feel the need to interject and say that Guns for Hire is the best episode of the season because we got Dr. Emmett Brown saying the name Count Dooku. Anyway, continue, Kason.
Also fair.
Fair, very fair.
But yeah, like I don't know. I feel like a lot of people got off the bandwagon really fast this season. And I don't know why, because I really enjoyed the whole thing. I honestly, like after the first episode, I thought that the entire season was going to be like how you get to Mandalore and like how you get into the mines and everything. But like then obviously episode 2 comes in, it's just like boom, done. All right, cool. What's next? And I was like, oh, all right. We're just dumping the clutch on this. We're going full speed. That's fine. That's cool. Yeah, and like I said, like I enjoyed the whole season. But I thought the finale was good. But yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I like to have fun with things.
Do you have any strong opinions about the little shot at the end, Kason, with the little Looney Tunes thing at the end? I'm being facetious. I just thought it was really funny to people.
I do have thoughts on that, actually. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah,
that was another thing. I don't understand the hate, dude. Like people are like, "Oh, they did the Looney Tunes outro about it." It's like, dude, first of all, like we've seen that in Star Wars before. First of all,
exactly.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Second of all, like it's this nice little like Mando and Grogu got a fucking cabin, bro. Like they're just big chilling at the cabin. It's like, hey, everything's cool for now.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. It's
one of those things where I can tell you exactly why people didn't like it, and I think it's a symptom of Star Wars fandom as a whole. And we've talked about it before ad nauseum. And it's just like Star Wars fans are entitled and they're spoiled little brats, and they will
Yeah.
always turn on whoever's doing the Star Wars that they like, because at some point a creator is going to be creative, and the moment that happens, that doesn't align with their little childhood fantasy, they throw a little fit, and they don't try to look at the media critically. They just whine and bitch and just become, like I said, like a brat. So it doesn't come from an honest place of like, oh, did this resonate with me, or did I understand the themes, or like, do I not like it because of X, Y, or Z? It's more like, oh, well, this isn't my fantasy of bashing action figures together. So
Right.
poo, and now Favreau is in cahoots with Kathleen Kennedy, and they're, and now she, someone else is going to take over Lucasfilm at some point. So it's disingenuous, and it doesn't come from good faith. So screw them. So screw all those people.
Right.
Honestly. Yeah.
I agree with a lot of what you have to say, and I think that there's a I hate that so often when I go to talk about Andor, it's coming from a place of me kind of saying I don't like Andor, because that's not true. Andor was fantastic. However, I think a lot of the people who, when they watched Andor, had the knee-jerk reaction of how the hell the Andor is better than of it all, had the immediate knee-jerk reaction of how the hell am I ever going to watch the Baby Yoda show after I watch this? And I think a lot of those people put their money where their mouth was and just decided that Star Wars should not be a buffet anymore, and that like a show that is this much high fantasy meets spaghetti western in space shouldn't exist. And there are gripes that I have with the season. Now that we've reached the end of it, I can absolutely say that this season in many ways can be defined by its first 2 episodes.
Yes.
That it is high adventure and the establishing of future stakes that will shape the rest of the show, being immediately achieved within moments. The whole like we watched that first episode. It's like, okay, this is the season of trying to get back to Mandalore, and like I thought Din would make it to the mines of Mandalore in the second episode. I thought there was going to be more going on there with how that happened, but I didn't expect it to be, aside from him almost dying, pretty simple and handled pretty easily. But that's how it happens. Within the first 2 episodes, he has been baptized in the living waters.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of elements of this season that are kind of like, okay, this seems really fucking important and kind of crazy. And in the next episode, it is resolved.
Right.
Which, is it bad necessarily? Not inherently. However, it does kind of let it is kind of, it's an interesting choice. I think is the best word there, is that it is an interesting choice. And I'm not just saying this because like my predictions about the armorer were not correct. I owned that L happily. I'm still not fully convinced I'm wrong. Not even Rook cast, but just the whole like,
she's not a villain.
It's an Imperial honeypot, as I was saying, but.
What's up, dude?
I mean, I think that was one of my issues as well with this third season, is that I feel like season 1 and season 2 set up a lot of really interesting, complex themes, especially with the Children of the Watch and with religious bigotry and intolerance. I mean, one episode's called The Apostate. I mean, if there's a word that like carries so much weight to it, like the apostate, I don't know. I mean, obviously there's more, but like that you can actually use on TV. But like apostate has like a lot of meaning, and it's a triggering word for many people because they've experienced being an apostate in their communities and their cultures, and it's not an easy thing to go through in the real world, because you're excommunicated from your family and you can't communicate with them. And to have the Mandalorian present this in such a in your face kind of way, and like kind of building up to some crescendo or you know, or moment of truth for Mando or Din or Jaren, I guess, because Din is the last name. It was kind of underwhelming because it's like they felt like, okay, we're gonna set up. It's like Fox News. We're gonna just ask some questions, or we're not actually gonna give you any answers. We're just asking questions here, and I feel that's what season 3 was. It's just like lots of setup, but no payoff. It's just like stop thinking about it type of thing.
I would hesitate to say no payoff. I understand what you're saying, and like I said, like I'm planning on doing an entire episode about the Children of the Watch of it all. But like I said, he gets a Mandalore second episode. You know, all of the stuff with the dark saber. You know, like again, yes, I take the L in the armorer, but like I really felt like the armorer was setting up Bo-Katan to usurp Din. And then you have Din, who very nobly just kind of goes, "Hey,
here you go.
Will you take this fucking sword, please?
Please, I offered it to you last season. Take it now."
Like, please just take it
for the love.
Technically, it's yours, dude.
It's so heavy. It's so heavy.
Yeah, and he gets to do his like. I can't even combat. I was beaten by creepy thing in the cave, and then she killed creepy thing in the cave. Lady Kreese, for the love of God, take this from me. I don't want it anymore. And it would just kind of like happens.
Exactly.
And I was
all this
like,
setup, and then like never mind.
It just kind of happens. Same thing with a lot of the stuff with the Children of the Watch. Like, I don't know if they meant to make the armorer seem as sinister as she seemed all season. Like that is my big takeaway. Now, again, like, you know, this story isn't over. This story isn't over, and by the time season 4 rolls around, we might find out that the armorer is the snaky, evil, duplicitous bitch we all thought she was, and you know, I will get to be vindicated. But like
all of us, because we
thought
that in Triad as well. We were like, geez, there's gonna be a twist, and no twist.
But up to this point, like, I am convinced that there was like a huge mistake in editing where they just made her seem super sinister.
Also, like, Emily Swallow is just really good at being that way.
Yeah.
Because I think I mentioned on like the last time, maybe one of the last episodes, I don't remember. But Emily Swallow plays the armor. She also plays Mara from Supernatural.
Yes.
She's also very good in that, and also kind of like similar vibe because she acts like she's trying to help, but then you're also like, I don't know, this could be backhanded.
Emily Swallow has become the actor you go to when you need a character who is good,
right?
Just does not feel like it at all.
Yeah.
Kind of like the oh my god, I forgot the Jedi Master in the 9th Jedi that wears the sinister mask, but he was actually the good guy all along.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it was just like the whole like you walk both worlds, and it's like you're making shit up.
Right.
Like you
didn't say that 2 weeks ago, bro.
You sent Din Djarin to fucking die over this.
Yeah.
And now it's all cool in the gang. And again, like at the time, you're looking at Bo-Katan, and you're like, oh, like you walk both worlds because you have this like legendary bloodline, and you saw the Mythosaur, and you're impressionable and an incredible warrior, and you're really vulnerable right now. And you know, you could definitely kick the shit out of Din Djarin. So yeah, like you would put Din Djarin through a wall, so it wouldn't be hard for you to get the Darksaber back, and then your mind to control. Like the armorer feels really sinister. The armorer feels like a gaslighter. The armorer feels like really gross and kind of abusive, and she's they're fighting in the name of Mandalore like everybody else, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I was wrong and maybe misread a lot of the film language at hand here. But it felt like I was supposed to think something about it.
I'm convinced that there were reshoots and they changed it, because what you said is like the editing, like that the episode before last when she says like, oh, I'm gonna take the wound, like all of a sudden, like right at the end when they get with the stormtroopers and shit, and they're gonna get ambushed, and she all of a sudden evacuates and takes the ship out, and it's like all the editing's just like her leaving, and then what's gonna happen on the cruiser, then what's happening with everybody like on Mandalore. It's just like it's framed that way. And so I would not be surprised if we found out that they had different versions of this shot, and then throughout the reshuffling or restructuring of Rangers of the New Republic being incorporated, because I goose guarantee that shit. I mean, that was not a coincidence with like him saying I'm going to be an independent contractor of the New Republic. It's like, okay, come on, dude. I'm sure that they changed that shit.
Was it a Triad that posted that meme, or was that
Yes,
just
I will.
scratched out Rangers?
Yes, that was me. I will take
I
full
thought.
credit for myself.
But yeah, and like I said, is it bad necessarily? No, it's
no.
just certainly a choice. But that said, thematically, this season, what it was actively trying to say, not the things I kind of forgot it mentioned, soared for me. I loved this story of solidarity, of family. You know, I think that again, for everybody who wants to do, you know, Andor's the only serious Star Wars and is this high, you know, elevated thing, like Star Wars by hook or by crook, intentionally or not, presented us with a story where there's like a fundamentalist religious cult that like is inherently problematic, but also is on the right side of history.
Yeah.
And is fighting for the right cause, even though elements of their culture are uncomfortable. And that's really complex for what people write off as the Baby Yoda show.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot to say there. And I appreciate the text leaving us in a place to just kind of make up our own minds about it. Because, you know, at first I had a lot of feelings about the Children of the Watch. I still do. Like I said, whole episode about it is forthcoming. The Armorer sent Din Djarin to die.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think the Armorer thought he would pull off his mission. I think the Armorer sent him to either fail hysterically, knowing one of those like fail states was his death. And, you know, by the end, just she feels opportunist in many ways. And I don't feel fully like, and for a lot of that, I didn't feel fully satisfied. And I have a lot of gripes with like the dehumanizing nature of a lot of like the mask rules.
Yeah. Yes.
You know,
yes,
like
yes.
that's one of my big things. Like, you know, when you go back to the Foundling, which I think is the best episode of the season, you see the whole, you know, you as the leader of the war party get to stay at the fire and we're all going to leave. And, you know, it's all about, you know, the Mandalorian covert is above all things. You know, the needs of our community are above all things. We are in solidarity, but solidarity as a unit, not as an individual. And that like lack of individuality, I think, clashes with their need for solidarity. And that like what are we in solidarity for? Are we in solidarity for the like the idea of the Mandalorian as like as a concept, as an institution, or are like we in solidarity to protect each other, or are we only protecting each other because that means there's more Mandalorians in the galaxy if we're all alive?
Right.
That there's something really complicated there that I'm still trying to make peace with. There is a lot, I think, to unpack with the nature of Din Djarin's exile. When you consider his helmet was removed in the name of saving a foundling. We see what the covert is willing to sacrifice to save Ragnar Vizsla. But there isn't any patience given to Din, whose son would surely have been killed, and his like life made a tool of the Empire's, you know, evil science. Had he died,
Right.
if not for Din taking off his helmet in The Believer.
But and that's the thing that gets to me, because I've seen like some people frame how the Children of the Watch storyline was used in the season as being like, well, it's about tolerance. They realize that they can tolerate all these factions. I was like, no, because tolerance isn't necessarily a good thing. It just means that you will kind of skim by with just letting other people be this whole thing, even though you might still be antagonistic towards them. And I think something that might have been a step in the right direction that would have been subtle, but still, kind of help correcting the mistakes of the watch or the armor is half when the armor kind of tells the other Mandalorians that, they're going to be together and that there's the two paths type of thing, for her to be like, it's not just Bo-Katan and her people that can walk both paths. So can we. So if you motherfuckers want to take up your helmet,
that was the big
it.
thing
Right.
for me.
And it would have
Absolutely
been cool
good.
to have some Mandalorian, maybe, because for me it's cool if some want to keep their helmets on. Fine. Because if you want to believe in that way, that's cool. But to force this whole group of people to behave in this way was the thing. It's just like, it's indoctrination, and you're kind of making people do something that they might not necessarily want to do. So like in that circumstance, when you're like bringing these two groups together, the fact that there wasn't like a middle ground of being like, okay, we can leave this or like find a different way to be this. And maybe it's not the armor that takes off her helmet. Maybe it's like some glove shadow in the background, but it would have started mending that, because, it kind of shows that, okay, we can find a way, not the way. And not having Pedro Pascal take off the helmet, I think, was a lost opportunity, because that would have been, I think that would have been the cherry on top for the season in terms of like quote unquote redeeming the Children of the Watch and walking both worlds bullshit, is for Din to, at the end when he's with his son and there's no one else from the covert, it's just like, hey, I'm kicking it with my son, helmet off, boom, close the season. And I think that would have been so powerful. Like, I understand that Pedro Pascal is very busy, and he was never on set, probably.
Absolutely. I think the fact that we never saw Din's face is 100% confirmation that Pedro was not in the room for any of this season, which isn't inherently a bad thing. I know there's a lot of people who want to make like the whole Pedro not being thing some weird like studio politics nonsense, and
No,
you just don't know anything about the industry with which you purport to understand. But no, absolutely, I do wish that there was some type of compromise reached, and granted, like but part of me also questions, like, what the fuck is the point of the Children of the Watch if we all live on Mandalore now?
mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, Taylor and I, my girlfriend and I, were talking about this, where like the stakes are now such that, if Blue Buffett, as I like to call him, who, is always like doing some weird shit in the background, and I love it. He's also like double Beskar cheeked up. But if Blue Buffett decides to take his helmet off, like today, it's not a big deal. You go fucking down the street,
Mm-hmm.
take a little dip in the pool and come back out.
Right. Take a little swim.
Like,
no
it's
problem.
like the stakes for like the whole helmet thing, all the like these weird like this weird cultural thing, like, has completely changed.
Yeah.
Like, and again, like, let's also keep in mind, what is the question that the armorer has asked? Have you removed your helmet, or has it been removed by others? So you could like forcefully have it taken off of you, and it's still like not make a difference. You're still an apostate.
It's a no-win situation.
So let's put ourselves in the shoes of some poor Mando, some poor child of the Watch who gets unmasked against their will. You're an apostate. You got to go, buddy. No, you want to go bathe in the mines of Mandalore? Yeah, sorry about that. It was carpet bombed into glass, and you can't breathe the poison air.
Mm-hmm.
It was really weird, but there's also so many themes of community that I do sincerely love, and that this season left me with a lot of complicated feelings. But at the end of the day, like, the core of this show was and always will be the bond between Din Djarin and Din Grogu. The first I watched the episode, like the little crackhead I am, at 3 a.m, like I did every episode this season. And I spent the following 20 minutes just pacing the living room,
Mm-hmm.
just trying to make peace with the episode, because there was no admission of like what the armor are doing to Din was wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was something
Yep,
I really
exactly.
needed. And like that would like fully affect the context of the show, because the whole time we're talking about like, yes, the children, there is legitimate solidarity there's legitimate community. Every single member of the Children of the Watch are completely prepared to lay down their life for this child.
Mm-hmm.
But also the armor is weird.
And that's the thing. You can be 90% of you can be good, but if a 10% of you did something back to someone, the 90% doesn't excuse it. You still have to
Yeah,
ask for
yeah,
forgiveness. You still have to acknowledge that you did something wrong, and to kind of like brush it off and be like, well, but look at all these other good things. But it's like, yeah, but
yeah.
those other good things weren't the bad thing that you did to this person. And
And
you have to acknowledge that you did something wrong. Yeah.
and in many
Right.
ways, the end result is a faction that is, I think, the most complicated one to talk about the ethics of in Star Wars. Like a lot of people like to do the whole like, oh, well, the Jedi are a cult, they kidnap babies. No, they don't fucking kidnap babies. They do not kidnap babies. They show up to the families of Force sensitive children and go, hey, here's the deal. Your kid has fucking space magic. This is going to be a difficult life for them already having the space magic. We can train them, we can teach them. By the numbers, most people in the galaxy are not living the life of a fucking Amidala or Organa, So, it's kind of hard out here to begin with. We leave the decision up to you. And most families saw it as a distinct honor that their child went on to become a Jedi Knight. So, a religious fundamentalist group that I'm going to try to respectfully refrain from calling a fucking cult, but it's a cult, being compared to like, a religious fundamentalist group that is confirmed to be a like distilled, filtered out version of a violent terror organization. Um, that is like kind of implied to be just scooping up orphans wherever they can from like war-torn worlds, I think is a little different than some like space monk wizard going, hey, do you want us to take care of your magic baby? Because I don't think you're qualified to deal with the magic baby. No? Okay, may the force be with you. Like, I think they were a little different. I don't think that is a fair fucking comparison. Not to do apologia for the prequel era Jedi, but like
Right,
maybe
because there are issues with the Jedi that we
Yeah.
can describe, but they're
like
completely different from
like I was giddy to hear the name Count Dooku. Like, I agree with the man on a lot of things. I think comparing these two fucking organizations is an indictment on the fan making the comparison more than it is an indictment of the Jedi. But all of that said, Goose, what was your favorite episode this season?
Oh, the one before last. I mean, that one. It was. I have to reframe it. I saw it at Star Wars Celebration. I was able to get the wristband to see
I was going to
it
say,
at
I
the
couldn't
celebration
remember if you
stage.
were at Celebration or not. That was my next question.
Oh my God, was I at Celebration? I was at Celebration. Celebration was with me. It was such an incredible, magical experience that we got to share as a collective unit of friends and family. It was beautiful, beautiful. Like each celebration is just better than the last. And to have been able to watch that episode of The Mandalorian with all these crazy people at the celebration stage, and it was magical because so many things happened that you weren't expecting to have happened there, and like especially with the Praetorian guards, it just blew my mind to have them look almost exactly the same as the Last Jedi, because it was just delicious. I'm like, oh my God, eat your words, all you YouTubers that are saying that they're retconning the sequel trilogy. It's like, no, the sequel trilogy is alive and well, my friends. It is perfect. Oh, and it just made me so happy because obviously it was piggybacking off of Daisy Ridley's announcement of her coming back for the new Jedi Order film. So I'm just like, oh, we're not retconning anything, baby. We
It
are
is
embracing
a
it, and
bad
it's
week to
beautiful.
We
be
are
Dictor
doubling
Van
down.
Doomcock.
Yes. I mean, and that's besides the point of the episode actually being badass because it was the emotional stakes of that episode were like so incredible, especially with what was happening with the armor, right? Because we thought it was going a different direction, especially like I said before, when she leaves with the wounded to go back to the cruiser, and like that whole framing of tension with like what's going to happen when when the Empire is revealed and the TIE interceptors going up to the cruiser, and then all the Mandos getting Din getting captured by the what are they called? I don't know. I don't remember what rebels what they were called. The Commandos,
Imperial Super Commando.
Super
Super
Commandos.
Commandos, and and then past Vizsla's last stand, I was just like, oh man, that is some epic mythic shit. I was like, this
$100.
Star Wars does not get bigger than this. So like that's one of the things I really love about the Mandalorian, and that episode specifically exemplified it, is that it can be quirky, and it's something that I was thinking about when I went to see Return of the Jedi. I went to see Return of the Jedi with Chase on Saturday, and while I was watching it, I hadn't rewatched Return of the Jedi for a while, and seeing it in theaters, it really reminded me like Star Wars is very goofy. I mean, not just because of the Ewoks. I mean, everyone picks on the Ewoks, but like Return of the Jedi is very goofy, specifically because of Han Solo. Like he is like the comedic relief in that episode, more so than C-3PO. And it's just like, and somehow that movie's beloved, right? And then all of a sudden, like Mando can't be silly. It's like, yeah, I mean, there's space for all those moments, and Mando does that balancing act very well. You'll have like the episode with Lizzo and Jack Black that like leans on the silliness a little bit, but then afterwards you have like this epic last stand of Paz Vizsla with the Praetorian Guards, which is like the epicness and the scope of the cinematography and the sound editing and the music and the performances were just like top notch. So yeah, I mean, that's a very long-winded way of saying that is my favorite episode. Yes.
Well, I mean, I don't want to respond to the silliness of Star Wars first by saying I think that a lot of people my age who are kind of like the Revenge of the Sith ride or dies, which there is nothing wrong with. Revenge of the Sith is a fantastic movie. However, I do think like the kind of like Revenge of the Sith stan that I don't love, low-key convinced themselves that every movie, every Star Wars story feels like Revenge of the Sith, and that's not true. And I think that if you showed someone like not to keep bringing him up, but he makes himself hard not to be the stock standard example of a Star Wars fan who doesn't get it. But Mr. Theory, like show him something like Return of the Jedi.
I mean, but
He'd have a fucking stroke.
Even
like if something
of the,
like Return of the
Revenge
Jedi
of the
came out
Sith
today.
There's lots of silliness in that movie anyway.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing though. There's silliness in that movie, but there's not any scene where like a woman is like usurping a man. So that's that's So like if there were like that scene where Obi-Wan decides he's going to try to just kick the metal man in the shin, with his own shin for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you had that like combined with a scene where like, I don't know, fucking Shock T is like competently fighting Grievous at the same time, Obi-Wan Kenobi took a backseat in Revenge of the Sith.
Right. Absolutely true.
Something like that. But like, but if you tried to show somebody like a Star Wars theory, something as silly as Return of the Jedi in many ways, something that is as much of a fairy tale as Star Wars can get, with Ewoks and all the people in Jabba's palace, like I go back and forth on who my favorite Glup Shitto in Jabba's palace is. These days, I think I'm a Droopy McCool kind of guy. There's something deeply funny about watching a man who looks like he's made up of a bunch of swollen penises play the clarinet. I think I'm a Droopy McCool kind of guy these days. Max Rebo, love him. Ula,
Yeah, everyone.
goddamn.
Yeah.
But show that to the bricks and screws guy, and you'd see if his fucking brain doesn't hemorrhage, and just go, oh yeah, that was actually from 1980, and it was like Daddy George's vision. So yes, I do think that there's like the dude bro wing of the fandom has forgotten that not every story is Revenge of the Sith. Not every Star Wars story is this deeply operatic Shakespearean tragedy.
It never was.
No,
Right.
I mean that's I was on Bombad Cast this past week talking about 40 years of Return of the Jedi, and we were talking about how every Star Wars every original 6, core pre-Disney 6, is one of the building blocks that makes up all of Star Wars material today.
Right.
A New Hope is your quintessential space opera. Empire Strikes Back feels like this period piece for an alternate history that is very sci-fi. It's one of the more sci-fi feeling ones. Jedi is just a straight up fairy tale. Phantom Menace is just this George Lucas at his Lucasiest, cranked up to 11, just doing George shit. Attack of the Clones is this pulpy gumshoe political thriller. Then Revenge of the Sith is this very Shakespearean epic. All of these movies have similar elements across the board. All of these stories, share DNA, but some of them lean into one element more than they do the others. There is some of that epic tragedy at Empire, and there is some of that space opera, whimsy in Phantom Menace. But each of them lean into one of those things super hard. And then you take all of those ideas, you take all of those kind of building blocks of each of these 6 core different flavors of Star Wars. And that's what we get a lot of in the new era. So that's what I mean when I say, Revenge of this. Not every story is the Greek tragedy that is Revenge of the Sith. That said, this decision that every movie is going to be grim, dark, bleak, and serious, despite the really fucking silly moments in Revenge of the Sith, has poisoned the dude bro demographic. And then you have this weird new group of Andor purists who are upset that Grogu isn't debating adoption law. I don't fucking know. Again, Andor is incredible. It is an incredible work of art. It is fantastic. It is some of the best Star Wars we have ever gotten from 77 to 23. It's incredible. But holy God, this franchise has always been a mix of the silliest, whimsical shit next to some of the heaviest, most depressing, soul-devouring material you've ever seen in your life.
I mean, the Clone Wars is a perfect example of that too, because everyone loves that fucking show, and that show coexists in those. It's exactly, the armor would say it walks both paths, because it does have the silliest of the silly, and it has the dark. I mean, Clone Wars has some of the darkest crap I've ever seen in my goddamn life. I remember seeing that for the first time. People die in this left and right, and it's just the brutality of war. But then you get a silly little episode about droids doing things, or or Jar Jar getting a girlfriend and stuff like that. It's just it's always been there.
The same show that has a lunatic anti-clone racial supremacist Jedi kill each other deliberately is the same show that has a Republic Ranger who's this big named Meeber Gaston go on an adventure with a bunch of beeping trash cans.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, it's that one. That's the one I like.
That's exactly what I was
That
referring
is you could not get more emblematic of Star Wars. Like, and again, like with the Clone Wars example you just gave, and like the smorgasbord that is Star Wars of the tapestry. Excuse me while I cash app Alden. That is Star Wars. You know, like I'm showing my girlfriend Clone Wars. The fucking like Newt Gunray arc in season 1 is insane to watch. Because you go on this run of Bombad Jedi, Cloak of Deception, Lair of Grievous, where Bombad Jedi it's a Jar Jar episode, as the name implies,
Right.
where he's like flopping around and Jar Jar's falling down so much that they think he's a Jedi who's like a master tactician. And then you watch Cloak of Deception, which is like one of the first times that this show goes, you know how much it would suck to get killed with a lightsaber? As they just like Captain Argaius, you're watching the life out of him as Ventress literally stabs him in the back. And then you graduate the fucking Lair of Grievous, where you watch Kit Fisto watch his surrogate son get gunned down, shot in the gut with this, like, 90s Ninja Turtle movie, like, Shredder has no honor type fucking kill.
Yep.
Of Nadar Veb. And, they're opening, here's General Grievous's drawer full of Padawan brains. Same show. 2 episodes ago, Mr. Commissar, like that
was a good Jar Jar. Holy shit!
But like it's the same show. It is the same motherfucking show. Like, and that is what Star Wars is.
And somehow you're gonna tell me that we can't have that tonal variation in Mando. It's just
exactly.
the self-awareness is lost.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like I love that Mando does truly lean into its more pulpy, spaghetti western in space meets like a adventure, like a fantasy adventure. Pardon my hiccup. Fantasy adventure story.
Mm-hmm.
I
do feel though, and this is, and I'll connect this later with like something that actually like irked me a little bit more somehow than the Children on a Watch. I do feel like the Mandalorian right now has to its disservice having only Favreau and Filoni be writers in that show, and it kind of shows that like the limitations that only having like only one voice has. Which not to be like the Andor people, but like I think that was an advantage that Andor had, and that it looks like probably the Acolyte's going to have as well. It's just like having not just like more than one writer, but a group of diverse writers coming in to start injecting like new life into the writing of the show, which like we can see the benefits of not just in Clone Wars, but in Rebels and Bad Batch. Is like when you have like a plethora of people coming in to like give their ideas and inject more life into what the showrunner wants, it enriches it and like makes it feel like you're not in a stale ecosystem. And I feel like as much as I like season 3, I feel like we're starting to see kind of the limits of Favreau, and we need to diversify that a little bit more. He can still do the main like story outline and like obviously still be showrunner.
Story by Jon Favreau, written by
I think we need to bring in a little more diversity into the
equation. And that's fair. I have no problem with that. A lot of my umbrage I take with like other people who express that opinion. Again, it normally comes at the cost of like, it's because Favreau just takes his action figures and smashes them against each other. When, this show has so much more heart and is so much more compassion. And this show is just so intensely about love and family that like you can't convince me it's just action figures.
And these are the same people that were saying the opposite during season 1, because season 1 is just like, the hero's journey and like Din, being like the mythic hero from Joseph Campbell and like all those things, like going back, hearkening to the origins of Star Wars and being the Western and being so gritty. And they were even saying that in season 2. And I don't know, like all of a sudden, like why? We know why. We talked about it in the beginning of this episode, but like all of a sudden, like there's this, all of a sudden, like this poo-poo to season 3, even though it's thematically continuing all the same things that we've seen from season 1 and season 2. So it's kind of like it's hypocritical to an extent to have like the criticisms that are being hurled at the show from that point of view, when it hasn't been used in the previous seasons. And why? It's because we want to be film connoisseurs or snobs or whatever
Yeah.
in the aftermath of Andor. That's not fair because it's completely different tones. It's like me comparing, like, I don't know, Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest versus the Avatar, The Way of Water. It's like, sure, they're thematically kind of the same, but they're completely different palettes, and we have to look at them from the points of view from which they're meant to be seen. Because otherwise, it's a disservice to the media, right? That's been created by these creators. So I don't know. It's disingenuous, and it's not to say that you can't like something, because obviously we all not like something at any points, but to not like it from a cynical perspective, I think it's just a service to yourself and the narrative that you're putting out there. I don't know.
No, I agree with you. Kason, your favorite episode of the season?
Favorite episode of the season. I did really like Guns for Hire, but I also really like The Spies. It'd be one of those two. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, because like Guns for Hire is like, Guns for Hire is like we've been talking about. It goes back to that like campy spaghetti western for an episode. Like it's kind of just fun, and then like some stuff happens like toward the end, but like it's kind of just fun, and like Din kicks a robot, or as you guys have said, and I keep wanting to touch on Jaren. What the hell is up with that? That's my only gripe with the whole thing. What is up with the first name last name thing? Because it's Paz Vizsla, it was Pre Vizsla, it was Tar Vizsla. I assume it's Ragnar Vizsla, but why is it Din Djarin and now Din Grogu?
Well, I'm gonna go with because
they're foundlings?
Jarring was a foundling. From his culture, he had a different way that it worked. So I don't have a problem with that. I think the problem is that since it was never clarified before what was the order, and we all got used to saying Din. Now it's a little jarring, not to make a little pun there, but
that was good.
Thank you. I don't appreciate that, but whatever.
Yeah, like I was saying, like Guns for Hire goes back to like the campiness, like the spaghetti western of it all, and like it's just kind of like silly and fun, and then stuff happens. But then you also have The Spies, where like I'm gonna reiterate it. Paz Vizsla goes out and like, dude, that scene is absolutely bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
Like he takes out how many of the super commandos, and then
all of them
guards come in.
All of them.
Yeah, like whatever's left of them, he's just like, yeah, okay, get
with
out of
his
here.
bare
Whoever's not
fucking hands at the end.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, the gun melting.
The gun melts.
Like,
his essential space Gatling gun melts because he's been going so damn hard, and then he's like, you know what? Put him up.
Right, like bare knuckle boxing.
He throws his gigantic fucking gun at one of them. And then it's just straight hands after that.
Yeah, dude. He's like, hands are rated E for everyone, boy. Let's go.
And like, he wins. That's the point.
Exactly. And like, as soon as I saw the slow-mo Praetorian Guard walk, I was like,
I did. Yeah, to that
like,
point.
There was like that
point, I would have liked. I would have liked for the one to die when he was like holding its neck. I would have liked, as he's dying, just snap.
Just take
neck.
One.
Just take
that would have
been,
or just
take one.
Even just like have him go that far and just like rip his throat out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, like I'm gonna say the thing I said before too. I just don't understand why people can't have fun and just enjoy the ride.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you completely. Here's the thing. The two episodes you said hold a very special place in my heart because I literally got to sit in the same room as Scotty fucking J-Ro and watch those.
Yeah.
At Star Wars Celebration Baton Rouge.
Yes, at Star Wars Celebration Baton Rouge. Shit goddamn fuck. Listen, the more I think about Star Wars Celebration Baton Rouge, the more I think about how little it took me to just go full Alex Jones and take off my shirt on a live stream. Like it,
you gotta have to be in the right environment.
I was fully in the right environment. I even remember how the joke got made of like, it would happen. And I went, if you get a patron between now and the end of the stream, I will take off my shirt. And the father of one of Scotty's students subscribed to the Patreon.
That is
That's epic.
hilarious.
That's epic.
Yeah, and I just went full, just all right, interdimensional psychic vampires.
They're making the freaking frogs gay.
Turn of the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? But no. So no, those episodes hold a very special place in my heart. The fun, like, okay. I know I make fun of people all the time for feeling the need to bash other Star Wars, to praise other Star Wars.
Mhm.
But I do think this is a fair comparison. Guns for Hire, it's like whodunit subplot is what Attack of the Clones wanted so desperately its first 2 acts to feel like.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
I think it achieves like and I don't know, like it's not a super serious like whodunit. Like that episode, you go into it with this like with the premise of Lizzo and Jack Black are going to babysit Baby Yoda while Din and Bo-Katan go to investigate rogue robots. Now don't talk like this, Roger.
they talk like that in Revenge of the Sith too. Let's keep that in mind.
You're right. I know. I every time those robots those battle droids started talking, I was like, I'm waiting for them to ask me my next trivia question.
Mhm.
Kason got it. I love you, Eli. But like it's just this like fun, whimsical, and like the whodunit isn't that like fucking serious. And even by the end of the episode, like it resolves like an episode of the Clone Wars.
Hey, who drugged the droids?
Who drugged the droids? They go to a bar to drink a software update. Like, I love Star Wars.
Yes,
but
a droid bar is perfect.
A droid bar
fits so well
to drink a software update. I'm never gonna stop saying it and not like giggle at it. It's so silly, but like that episode, like it's just fun. It truly feels like a live action episode of TCW or Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
very much so.
And it's just all the fun and style of Star Wars. And then you juxtapose that with, again, The Spies, which is an incredible episode with so much tension. You have the amazing moment with Grogu, no, breaking up the fight. Yep. Being this great unifier, which again, I think Grogu will become the great unifier between Jedi and Mandalorian culture as a whole. I think all of that writing is on the wall. Richard agrees. Incredible episodes and fantastic action in The Spies as well. Shouts out Paz Vizsla. Taylor was weeping in the Scotty J-Ro in the living quarters of Chateau de Jarod. She wept in the name of Paz Vizsla. And I was not far behind her. Like it's all really good stuff. But for me, I think my favorite episode is The Foundling. That episode was, it still doesn't feel real, like that on so many levels. Like first of all, I love the story. I love seeing like a heroic teacher defend a student. One of the first examples that came to mind, as again, and we said this whenever we did the review of the episode. I'm going to reiterate it with the caveat of fuck J.K. Rowling and everything she stands for. But the moment where Dumbledore squares off with Voldemort in Order of the Phoenix.
Order of the Phoenix, yep.
Where Dumbledore, just kind of comes in dick swinging, not in like a machismo kind of way, but in that very get the fuck away from my kid.
Yep.
Yeah. With that conviction of, hey, it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna fuck you up. It's okay. It's okay. You're good. You're good. You're gonna die today. Like that conviction of prepared to lay down, your life for the child. Or, I again made the other comparison, like, Snape and Azkaban, we just, he throws himself in front of these kids he doesn't fucking like, and these kids don't fucking like him either. He does not have a wand, unarmed, throws himself in front of a werewolf to protect these children.
Mhm.
And there is something that just resonates with me so hard when you see those teachers, those guardians leap into action to protect the young. And it just resonates with me so deeply as a whole. So, transpose that onto Star Wars and have this incredible moment where you see this legendary Jedi Master who is just too much to handle for like a group of these, clone troopers. Alden, I keep bringing him up. He's going to show up soon, like fucking Beetlejuice. Literally, just texted Goon Squad. Oh my god, I don't
No.
that was so weird. No,
That
I'm
was
not
weird.
even kidding.
Because I was about to say he's not going to be texting because he's busy, but what?
You're right.
what do
You're
I know?
right. But we stand corrected.
Is that correct? Yeah.
But what the hell was I saying?
Keller and Beck, the sabered hand.
Oh yeah. As he said, it may have been the luckiest day of Anakin Skywalker's life that they were in two different parts of the temple. That maybe Anakin would have gotten pieced up on Coruscant. That remains to be seen. But just everything about that, everything about Kelleran rescuing Grogu deeply affected me. And it also deeply affected me to see all of the children of the Watch leap into action to save Ragnar. To see the way that Bo-Katan, someone who's so new here, someone who has such little stake in all of this compared to everyone else, leaps into action to take point, to take initiative, to lead this party to save this child. That just so deeply resonates with me. And it was just all so beautiful. And, and obviously you have the out of universe, meta moment of it being Ahmed and, the satisfaction that comes with that. Of seeing, not only Ahmed get his time in the sun and get his flowers, but it be such an insane Star Wars deep cut. Like it's bordering on there being like a character named Glupshido. Like it's bordering on that level of like, oh, you want to see us reach deep into the bag of tricks? Boom! Keller and Beck saved Grogu by the action figure. Like this, just that confidence in itself.
Not just that, it's just like I'm absolutely convinced that the Naboo ship that we see Keller and Beck take Grogu to, no one can change my mind that it was not sent by Jar Jar Binks. So that just kind of makes it even more delicious that Jar Jar Binks was involved in saving Grogu, and that it's Ahmed Best helping himself save Grogu.
Yes.
It's just beautiful.
I absolutely. What were you gonna say, Cray?
Same thing. I was just be like, I fully accept that theory.
And I'll admit, I fully want to see it be Jar Jar. I fully want them to do it.
It has to be. It has to be.
I want it on screen. I want to see Keller and Beck be the scene partner of Jar Jar Binks in season 4 of The Mandalorian.
That would be incredible.
That would break the internet. I don't think I could handle. I can't even express words right now. Just trying to imagine that. That's amazing.
Yeah. And just well, first of all, again, Star Wars is for kids. It's that quote of best understood by an adult, best enjoyed by a child, and that I said this on Bombadcast last week. I'll reiterate it here that I do truly believe that we as children understand all of the symbolism, all of the motific development, all of the concepts that are at play in Star Wars, that we as children understand it. We just don't have the words for it. We as children don't know who Joseph Campbell is, but we understand what the hero's journey is. I don't know how I feel about any type of collective unconscious type stuff, but like we know what those stories are and what they mean. And, again, an actor who, is so dedicated to, like entertaining the children, who played a character who is made for children, who is now playing another character who is a teacher and defender of children, protect not just like the first, like, like the number one, cute little baby of Star Wars, but also like this avatar for childlike innocence within Star Wars that is represented by the audience. That, not to be reductive, but Jar Jar Binks with a lightsaber saved. I fucking love Star Wars.
Yeah.
And also, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. You know me. It was a Jedi. Of course, that was my favorite episode. Is the one with the fucking
Right.
Jedi in it. Like, yeah, we're gonna. Well, come on.
Jedi's are cool, man. Jedi's are cool. Like we all want it to be Jedi's. We all have a lightsaber, even though we all have one, or had one, or will have one at some point. It's cool. It's cool.
Right.
We all want it to be Luke Skywalker growing up or Anakin Skywalker growing up.
Sometimes you just need a lightsaber to go burr.
Sometimes you just do. Sometimes.
But most of the time.
Just a little burr to take the edge off,
A little lightsaber go burr to take the edge off. I will say though, I do think either the Spies. I think the Spies is probably a very close second. But you know what? I do think the Return is up there as well. Like I said, the first time I watched the finale, I was pacing around the living room for 15 minutes. I watched it again when my girlfriend came home from work, so we could watch it together. I burst into tears 5 times. I did not shed a single tear when I watched it the first time.
And
which
that's
is
the thing.
So weird for me. Which is so weird because I got choked up a couple times. Like, oh, this is so beautiful. But then I had these like caveats in my mind of like, but what the fuck is happening with Children of the Watch? The second time I watched it, where I think I made peace with a lot of like my issues.
You can let loose, yeah.
And like, Grogu, the first time I started crying watching it the second time was after Grogu helps Din escape from the Super Commandos, and Grogu understanding what the back to spray is and does, but not how to use it. So when Din is like, oh goddamn, and like getting ready to pick himself up, and Grogu just runs over and it's like, no, don't die, and he's just spraying a helmet.
Yeah,
right.
Like he's done nothing but just like make the visor on Din's helmet just
he's a squeegee. Yeah.
He's like, Grogu, go in the other room so I can clean this off with my cape.
Turn around, goddamn it!
Turn around, don't look. Eat your. Anyway, so like a moment like burst into tears.
Now that you mentioned that, wait, this is a total non sequitur. But to be redeemed, you have to bathe in the waters of the mines of Mandalore. So does that mean that if Jaren has a little canteen of water from the mines and he takes off his helmet, he can just just a little splashy splash and then he's good to go?
I think if it worked that way, if it works that way, you just made the armor 1,000 times worse. Because she has her little font of the living waters.
She can just like
that's how she tests it. Is she pours it in?
Right. She could just holy water them and do it.
She could literally just like the power of Beskar compels you.
Right.
Bam. There you go.
Bam. Go web. Go fly web. Like literally could just do that. So if that's how that works, and Din could just take a little like bloop. Okay, I'm back to being a Mandalorian. If he could do that, the armor just became the worst again.
That would be amazing though.
Like you have to go die, even though I could just dunk you right here, right now. But yeah, no, I was crying during that. I was crying whenever they were tag teaming the Praetorian Guards. Crying whenever Grogu used like the very Ser Junda like force shield.
Yes.
I know more people compared it to Kanan, which is probably what that was, but I just immediately thought of that like badass moment of Ser fighting Vader in Fallen Order.
I was like, what's this spoiler from Survivor? Like it was because I don't remember Ser Junda stopping any fire. So thanks for clarifying that it was the
water. Yeah. I meant that's what I was referring to.
I was like, what the fuck?
Don't worry. But yeah, no, just like all those moments and just fucking bursting into tears during the adoption, and then at the end, like that episode deeply affected me. And as much as I love the political intrigue of the convert, as much as I love the action of the pirate, the silly and pulpy campiness of Guns for Hire, and the epic tragedy of the spies, that was the episode this season that made me burst into tears on the second watch, but still I was sobbing. Speaking of me sobbing, again, tune in for our Return of the Jedi retrospective episode, where one Kason Breon sat one seat away from me, as every 15 minutes in a theater watching Return of the Jedi, I was sobbing.
Yes.
I can't wait to tell that story, Case, and I low-key hope you're in the same like proximity as your girlfriend, because I would love to bring Hannah into the room, because her face when we all ended up, this non sequitur teaser for the Return of the Jedi episode, we come out of the auditorium and we go into the hallway of this movie theater. Hannah looked at me and like I saw in her face that she was confused because she could see how red my eyes were from crying. Like she saw the face of somebody who clearly just finished sobbing.
Your eyes a little
And I'm
swollen.
like, yeah, I'm all swollen. I'm like wiping my eyes still. And she kind of had like a brief moment of, is he okay? And then I immediately was talking about like, dude, I can't handle that ending. And I was like, I was talking about the Force Ghost and almost started to cry again. Because I just started talking about it. And Hannah was like, oh, and Taylor's just standing there.
I mean,
like,
because it's powerful. The ending of Return of the Jedi is like way more powerful now to have Hayden's ghost, especially in this post Obi-Wan Kenobi world that we live in. Like all the love and acceptance that Hayden has been receiving from us and the fandom, and to kind of like now see Return of the Jedi reframed like that. It's just like, oh man, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
One thing I will
show
say,
up as a ghost. God damn it, yeah.
One thing I will say is I really, really wish they had gotten a better initial shot of Hayden, because whenever it first pops up, he's just standing there like.
Well, because the thing about it is that the body,
like,
the body is actually Sebastian Shaw's body.
yeah, it's still Sebastian Shaw. They just like,
they just put his head
so
over
just
it.
superimpose the face.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I
So
thought
that's why it's a little a little wonky at times.
that's why Anakin's doing like a little Debbie Ryan there.
Before, but yeah, he's literally, it's like this, where it's like
it's a floating head. Yeah.
It's like
okay,
yeah, bro, we get it. You're Darth Vader. Okay.
You're Darth Vader. We get it. Me and epic confrontations until about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
but no, yeah. I just one last Return of the Jedi thing here. I don't know if it's because the night before we saw it, I got on my soapbox about how Vader saying no before he kills the Emperor is
doesn't
like
bother me anymore. Yeah.
I think it is one of the best decisions George ever made. And I went on this like whole rant about like the defiance of it and him refusing to serve his master any longer. So I don't know if I worked myself up into a frenzy that lasted about 24 hours, that when we were watching the movie, that like when he goes, no, I just
yeah. But I think and
immediately, like it was so fucking funny.
It's
and,
such
like,
a good
Taylor's
point.
just shaking her head the entire time because she's so used to it.
But it's a really good point, because I remember when that change happened was like right after Revenge of the Sith came out and everyone hated the Vader's no at the end.
Yeah,
and
that was the 2011 Blu-ray. Yeah,
the Blu, and then they added the no there, so people were just like hating on it for hating's sake because it's reminded them of Revenge of the Sith. But now, having seen Return of the Jedi on the big screen, and then seeing that scene play out how it was meant to be seen in the context of the film in the cinema, it hits so much harder than it did when we saw it just on a Blu-ray on TV, in the post Revenge of the Sith days. So like when I saw it on the big screen, I was just like, oh, I get it, George. You were right.
Yes,
you were right.
Yeah, that's the first time I've gotten to see one of the
right about me.
Oh, well, I'm always right about me. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the first time I've gotten to see one of the original trilogy in theaters, and it was
Mm.
super fucking cool for me. Like super, super cool. Because like I was thinking about it, and I was going back through, and I think that I don't think because like I was too young when Phantom Menace came out. I was 2 years old, didn't see that in theaters. I don't remember seeing Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith in theaters. And like I was like 7, 8, I think, when Revenge of the Sith came out. Because that was 2005, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like 7 or 8 years old, but like I guess I didn't go see it in the theaters. So like the only movies, the Star Wars movies that I've gotten to see in theaters were fucking the sequel trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think
You
I
made-
only saw
You made me feel very old all of a sudden. Because I've seen every single. Well, I was not.
I'm about to be 26.
Not in 77, but like because I saw the original trilogy back in 96 or 94 when the special editions came out, and that was the moment my life changed. So
Yeah,
I've been very, very lucky to see like every Star Wars movie at the movie theater. So it's and that's why I'm just like Star Wars belongs to the big screen because it's just it's an experience
The
like no
only
other.
one I have left is A New Hope.
I don't understand why they didn't do re-releases in the past 2 40th anniversaries. Like,
Well,
what?
they did for Empire. They did for Empire. It just happened like, yeah, it just happened during the year of COVID, so it was weird and it was kind of But they did do it, and I did see it. But yeah, back to Mando. I do think on the whole, my favorite episodes the season were definitely the Foundling and the Return, and to kind of bring it home on this one, kind of do a roundtable of like final thoughts. Do I think this season was perfect? No. Do I think that the season may or may not have left some things on the field? Yeah, I think so. I think there were some moments they could have mined for a little bit more, emotional weight. The dark saber. Yes, the dark saber changing hands. The nature of Gideon's return, which we're talking about like very big picture stuff in our season finale review. We talked like I think almost that entire episode was about Moff Gideon. Giancarlo Esposito continues to just be God's gift to villains. Fantastic. Is he alive or not? We'll see. I know there's something deeply entertaining about the fact that we're going to spend the next however long it is until season 4 of Mando debating, was that a clone or did he shave?
He shaved. He shaved. That's me. It's just like this. It's just, I mean, the season wraps up in a with a tidy bow. It's just like this is a season 4 is a soft well, it's not reboot, but it's a new beginning.
It's a reset. So it's a reset.
So like I think I'm not saying never say never because Star Wars.
I would say Return of the Jedi ends with a pretty nice bow too.
True. And somehow Palpatine returned.
Right. But yeah, like doesn't like if that were a clone though, because he's saying I was going to create clones.
Well, but it could be like the Prestige type of thing where each clone thinks that they're the Prime, right? So
that's fair. Is that a condition thing with clones? Do we know that? I don't know.
I mean,
like you look at the clone army,
to be feel that way.
I don't know about clones in the Gideon batch, but I only am talking about the clones in the Prestige. So it's completely different. Completely different.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, but who's to say that Gideon didn't convince some of them, or there wasn't a Gideon clone that he was like, yeah, I'm gonna hang out, kind of wait this shit out, see what happens, and this one wasn't kind of given like the Force Unleashed 2 Star Killer treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I gotcha.
With like the memories like artificially kind of like plugged into his head.
Yeah.
So we shall see. But yeah, no, I absolutely love this season. I think I think a lot of the hate it's gotten is rooted in an inability. Let me rephrase that. Not an inability to accept fun, but a inability to accept silliness and whimsy, and a refusal to like let go of like the need for everything to be like super serious and epic. Because this season is an epic, as every season of The Mandalorian has been. of monsters and evil beings throughout the universe. So yeah, I think season 3, as I sit on it, I go back and forth whether or not I like this or season 2 more. But it is definitely a toss up between these past 2 seasons for my favorite, and I like them way more
Oh,
than season 1 for
interesting.
me.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. Kason, I'll throw to you, and then I'll let Goose be the final word here before we do plugs and stuff.
I like it. Season 3 was great for me. I had a lot of fun watching it, and I had even more fun because I got to do in-depth reviews with you guys on here. One moment.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Baby's first TV show run is over.
Yeah.
I guess this is the episode where we stop being able to say you're new.
Yeah,
here.
I'm not new. I've been through a full season. I done been through a whole goddamn war.
You don't know what I've been through. You don't know me.
Yeah, like I like that I'm getting even more into Star Wars now that I'm older because like you guys said, like most understood to adults but most enjoyed by children. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Or best enjoyed and best understood. Yeah, like it's so much fun to me now to get like into like the nitty gritty of everything and talk about how like, oh, like this seems like this, and like this, the implications of this go here to this thing, and like how the way it all works behind the scenes is absolutely insane. Yeah, and also the most recent full rewatch that I have done of any of the other shows or anything was Rebels. And like I'm working on the Clone Wars now. I'm kind of just like going through it whenever I have some spare time. But like seeing so much stuff from Rebels and like how this like ties into Rebels and everything, and then like seeing Zeb was fucking awesome for me this season.
Yeah.
Like it was so cool because like you hear the voice, like that low grumbling, and you're like, there's no fucking way. And then
Yeah,
like,
so, like,
boom, big
awesome.
purple dude on screen, and you're like, oh shit, he's here in live action. That
It's
is awesome.
Lavender Squatch.
Yeah, Laugh Squatch.
For the Squatch, there are no heroes.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for me, man. Like I had fun. I liked the season. I thought like the same thing as you guys. Like the messaging throughout the season was good about community and solidarity and everything. And like even though everybody still has their differences, episodes were fun. It got a little goofy, which I'm fucking here for. Like I started a rewatch of Blazing Saddles like 2 weeks ago, and I gotta fucking finish it. But my girlfriend was falling asleep, so I was like, "All right, bedtime." Yeah, like I just love goofy stuff, and I love when it gets mixed in with stuff that's a little more serious because that helps me get into more serious stuff.
Hell yeah, and that's such a big thing. You know, it's just like the togetherness, the unity that is this story. Mandalorians are stronger together, and I think that might be part of it. I know last week whatever the fuck we talked about the finale. Spencer and Reagan were kind of like on the fence about how it felt like the big win against the Empire felt a little easy. But then again, that's what Bo-Katan says. Like, there's no force that could truly stand against us when we're fully united.
Right.
I prove her right. But yeah, Goose, final thoughts on the season?
I've always said on Triad that even bad Star Wars is good Star Wars, and season 3 of The Mandalorian was not bad Star Wars. I think that sometimes we just and it goes to your point, Jarod, of like when you rewatched the finale without your preconceived notions and just let yourself enjoy it for what it is instead of what you were hoping it to be, and it resonated with you a lot more. I think that we kind of have to do that a little bit more when we watch media, because we hype ourselves up, even if we do responsible speculation, or if we're open to be disappointed, we still come in with those preconceived notions, and inherently that kind of makes us be disappointed at times. And I think we have to kind of come back with that, as we were saying, with that childlike innocence of enjoying it for what it is, because that innocence is what Star Wars is about. And I think if we reclaim that, we'll have a much better journey into understanding the media that we're watching, because that's how it's meant to be seen, not with like all these theories and things, and like, well, this has to connect to that because this other thing, which is fun, don't get me wrong, but like sometimes that diminishes the way that we enjoy all these things. So I think we just need to be like open to these things. I love Star Wars. I love where Star Wars is right now. I think that we are living in not a golden era, a platinum era of Star Wars, because we're getting so much content. It's just Andor, Mandalorian, the High Republic, Acolyte, like so much stuff that I have no idea why anyone would even complain about the state of Star Wars, because we are living in this has never been this way. And if George were in charge, it would have never been this way. I mean, so it's really great. And one of the things that I'm the most thankful for is to be able to, be here and talk about it with you and with all my other, friends that I made throughout this community on Twitter and social media and Celebration and the podcast. So I think it's the ultimate gift that Star Wars has given us. It's not just these shows, it's the ability to just come together and just be friends and family and kind of find joy in all these things. And it's kind of like a little kind of like moving. I'm kind of shifting the what I'm talking about here, but I think that's the whole point of fandoms, right? Finding joy and friendship and love. And I think that if that's not something that you're finding anymore, it's time to move on, because there's no point to living this wonderful life if we're not enjoying the things that we say we want to enjoy with the people that we want to enjoy it. So I know I went into like a cheesy rant there at the end, but that's what Star Wars is about. Star Wars literally
that's what the Mandalorian is. Exactly.
And all of Star Wars is literally about the friends we made along the way, literally. So we just have to kind of live that and have a little party at the end of every chapter of our lives, like in every movie, and kind of have a Polaroid of that and reminisce and enjoy it.
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
He's good.
In the heat of battle, he don't miss.
No.
In the heat of controversy, he don't miss.
No.
Thanks, Snoop. Deal double G.
Hell yeah.
Goose, where can the lovely people find you and what you do?
Oh my God, you can find me and Triad at the Force, like in most of, if not all of the social media sites except TikTok. Just look for Triad of the Force, and you will find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, even though we don't use it. And that thing that people use for 5 minutes called Hive, you will find us on all of those, posting little silly things. Specifically on Instagram, you'll just see a lot of stories of like rock bands and crappy memes that I just post on my story. So if you like that, please follow us. We're also on YouTube on video format. If you actually are not tired of my voice, you can see my face on YouTube. So yeah, just make sure to check us out there. Just look for Triad of the Force and you will find us. We're dominating all the Triad of the Forces on all the things. So yes, it's very easy.
You have no excuse to not look it up because it is such an easy name. And Goose and Nani do an amazing job, and you're an idiot if you're not watching and listening.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Also, another phenomenal panel done with
Mr. Alden Diaz.
Thank you for saying it, so I didn't have to. I didn't want to.
Mr. Alden Diaz and
I didn't want to Beetlejuice him into the room with me, and
maybe he'll text me now all of a sudden. Yeah,
it was so weird. He just popped right up on my Apple Watch. But yeah, thank you, Goose. Very happy to have you on. Kason, where can the lovely people find you, buddy?
Real quick before I plug the two things that I have. Speaking of Beetlejuice, just a real quick interjection about the Flash trailer. The fact that Michael Keaton got to be in a DC movies trailer and say, "You want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts." It's fucking awesome to me. I don't know if the movie's gonna be good or not. I'm kind of scared about the whole situation with DC at the moment, but like the fact that they did that, loved it. Anyway,
it's gonna be a big nut bust.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I played that for you, Kason, because hot take, I didn't like that Flash trailer at all.
I didn't like the trailer necessarily. I just really liked the fact that they let Michael Keaton do the Beetlejuice line in the Batman movie.
No, he says that in
That's
Batman.
from Batman.
What?
Yeah. It's when he's with the Joker, and the Joker's like, "Have you ever danced in the pale moonlight?" And then he's like, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." Yeah.
My God, I forgot about that.
It's good. It's good. It's still Michael Keaton.
Damn.
Yeah.
You're still kind of right.
I mean, it's
It's
fair.
Michael Keaton
That's how
and Tim
long-
Burton. So
Yeah.
That's how long it's been since I've seen the Tim Burton movies.
Yeah,
Aside from Batman Forever, because Batman Forever is my favorite. I don't know why. I have a massive soft
well,
spot
hey,
for
that's
Val
Schumacher.
Kilmer.
So even
that's
then,
Schumacher.
yeah.
That's Schumacher. Yeah. Batman
Wait.
Return is the GOAT. Yeah.
Returns is Danny DeVito, Penguin, Michelle
And
Pfeiffer,
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Catwoman.
Catwoman.
Yeah, Batman Forever is Val Kilmer. Right?
And let's not
Yeah.
forget Christopher Walken.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
a shady
Yeah.
corporate dude. Everyone always like sleeps
I-
on Christopher Walken, but Christopher Walken was
I
bomb.
fucking love Christopher Walken.
Sensational.
Anyway, I'm done. Yeah, sensational. I'm done talking about other things that aren't Star Wars.
Sensational. That's his word.
Your plugs.
Yes, you can find me at Cray Breezy on Instagram and Twitter. The Twitter, I do a little bit of everything. I kind of shit post and opinion post, and I like to think that I'm a sports genius sometimes too. So like, if you're down for that, come join the party. Instagram is just pictures because it's Instagram. If you're into deathcore and like super heavy metal at all, I also manage a band called Belvebeth, BELVEBUTH. Even I forget how to spell the damn name sometimes. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter for them too. Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your music, any of that stuff. Anyway, on to Jarod.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552. And you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I'm not talking to you, robot.
It's Alden
Facebook,
again.
Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to
saying the name.
podcasts. I'm also on a Star Wars real play RPG show called Ionized Bastards. Go check that out. As well as competing in Star Wars in the Galaxy's Trivia League, Epic Confrontations. I have a
But
match.
not in duos though, unfortunately.
I am not playing in teams until April 10th, 2024. But you will see my face in the match that comes out this month. I'm not playing in it, but I am featured. You'll see how. Got some plot lines moving along. So check that out. I also will be playing a match in July. I have to say his son of a bitchin' name again.
I'll say it. I only said it once so far.
Okay.
Alden Diaz.
Is picking my opponent for my next match because I lost to him in our Legends exhibition. So whoever he's going to pit me up against, I have to play in June. It is almost certainly going to be a former Schmodown player. They're going to put me through a fucking wall.
Ken Napzok, perhaps.
Listen, there is. It's funny you mentioned that. So there's a cutscene where he approaches Ken.
I saw.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say there was a brief moment there where I did think I was gonna have to play Ken, and I was like, it's been fun.
It's like
It's been a good time.
it's a good way to go.
I'm gonna die in the ring, like I wouldn't have it any other way. But like,
We're gonna leave it all out there. Die Warrior's death, baby.
Die Warrior's death. Yeah. So it's not Ken, and I know it's not the Damons.
Joseph Scrimshaw.
That leaves that leaves so many fucking people that I'm so afraid of. I'm so glad I don't have to be a heel anymore because I can just honest to God go like I'm in danger at the beginning of the match and not have to stay in character. It's just it's gonna be hands, and I'm not gonna go out like a bitch. I'm gonna fight like hell.
You're gonna be Paz Vizsla on this one, yeah.
I am gonna get Paz Vizsla in this in whoever I am playing in June. That is all provided that Alden isn't like a rat bastard and doesn't go, hey, you're playing Scotty again.
Or himself. It's like
No, Alden wants to make me earn him, but
I see. Yeah.
but
What if he picks you
anyway,
against Spooter?
it's Smoke Spencer. I KO'd him. I knocked him out during the KNR Fatal 3-Way.
Yeah.
I knocked him out, and then I beat Connor, the guy who writes the questions. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little heel now. Eli has to keep reminding me. He's like, Jarod, you can't be a dick anymore. I can still big time some of you guys. But anyway, Epic Confrontations and Ionized Bastards, as well as all of the stuff here. We got to get stuff rolling with the Versus series. We haven't had a chance to yet. So probably next week, $5 patrons and above. You can check out Darth Vader versus Shock T. Speaking of our patrons, you can go to www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and click on the link to go to our Patreon to support us there.
Give me $1.
Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Keandre Lloyd. Now, before I play this video, Goose, I want to prime you to pay attention to the screen in this video, because it has occurred to me that a lot of our like within the video clip I play, pay attention to the screen in the clip. It has occurred to me that a lot of our guests have no idea what the fuck is happening in this video, and when I point it out to them, become way more entertained by it. Did you see it?
I don't think I did. Honestly, I thought it was gonna be like a jump scare, so I was actually like bracing myself to shit myself.
It is not a jump scare. If you look like where like all the light is kind of focused on the screen in the movie theater, you can see the silhouette of somebody doing a backflip.
I saw it now. There we go.
I love that clip. Keandre is
enthusiasm
getting
right there.
spoiled by getting his patron clip played like twice every episode now. We have a guest. And to our other patron, Paco, or as he's going by on our Patreon, Trivia King, Scotty J. Rowe.
But that's not Scotty. That's Paul Stanley.
Yes, the real Paul
Right.
Stanley,
The real Paul Stanley.
not the transphobic one.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, the plan is to get our Return of the Jedi retrospective out this week. Fingers crossed we'll be able to do that. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm going to try to get it out to you guys before or on May 4th would be the ideal one. Stay tuned for that. Again, $5 patrons, you guys get access to the entirety of the Versus series, as well as our back catalog of that show. So stay tuned for that. Darth Vader versus Shock T. Thank you all so very much for watching. We are honored that you have joined us, and may the Force be with you.
Stop!